So we've seen that one of the gifts of mixed ecology is that there's these different forms of church, and that's really important because people are coming at church from really different perspectives and different understandings, and it's important that there's these different thresholds. But I guess we could say that one of the gifts is also perhaps one of the problems, which is that there possibly is a sense that we might become isolated from one another. How do we ensure that we're not kind of siloed in our difference, but that we are genuinely sharing and learning from one another? Because the parish priest might have lots to learn from the pioneer, and the pioneer from the parish priest, and from the resource church, and both.
I think it starts with us having a really healthy sense of curiosity about each other. Because I think if you're coming at this with a curiousness, which of course is encouraged scripturally, isn't it, for us to be looking for what God's doing elsewhere, then actually that takes us in with questions rather than launches us in feeling skeptical or whatever. So I think if we start with each other and go, actually, I want to be genuinely curious about what's working well with Father Matthew and with what's working well with Phil and what's working well in the rest of my context, then actually that starts us out in the right kind of place, I think.
I think there's a role of hospitality in it as well. So we have to offer hospitality to one another, genuine hospitality. So it's a case of not just going to see, but saying, come and eat, come and drink, come and live, come and see what's going on. So it can be quite hard, I think, for you to be on the front foot and go, I want to go and learn, I want to come and see you, Phil. And there are people who can do that, but also there has to be an element of us saying, come and see what happens, come and eat from the kebab shop in Hayes Town and meet the people and breathe it and live it, and you will see, maybe you'll catch some of what I see as a really positive, brilliant thing, because it's so much of what makes church successful in whatever format we're saying church or using the word successful is experiential. And it's very hard to communicate that in any other way than being hospitable and saying, come and experience it.
Which is encouraging, because I think at the heart of pioneering and good parish work and resource church work is that church is the people, it's the ecclesia, the gathering of people in a context. And so for pioneers, we talk about being contextual, but I think all good church is contextual. And I think it goes back to just sharing that thing of know your community, and intentionally know your community. Get out there, like Father Matthew said. But then also think, what will it take to reach these guys? What will it take to reach these people that are in my community? And then I think to think about what it would take to reach those people, and it won't all look the same, of course. And I think also it encourages much more of a team idea as well, which is when we talked about the different leadership that it will need. So how actually do we release our church members, congregation members, to go and be missionaries, I guess, in those communities, and to find the people that they know and to start community with that as well. I think it's an exciting vision for the future, I think, in the sense that we're making part of church discipleship mission again. I think it's an exciting future.
And of course, conferences like this are really helpful because you get to meet with people who are coming from a different context yourself. So, I know quite often there are established kind of networks for people who lead resource churches or people who are pioneers, which is fabulous, and they're really supportive. But actually something like this gives us the opportunity to actually cross-fertilise those streams and look at what else is going on in the bigger picture. And I guess, one of the things that we can do out of this is actually to get to know each other better and then actually go and do the visiting and the experiencing.
Yeah, I think the key, I would agree with what both of you said. I think the key for pioneers is that historically for pioneers, it's always, from its nature, it's always been out on the edge. I think what's really key for us as pioneers is to find a way to speak into different contexts, parish context, resource context, and to have that posture of learning as well as sharing what we've learned as well. Pioneers are out there doing amazing things in context and creating amazing communities, and there is something to learn from them. I think a way of doing things would be something to learn from pioneers. So I would say, moving into the future together, let's create spaces where pioneers can talk to the parish, where we can talk to resource churches all together, And yes, this conference is great, but I'd like to see that locally too. How can we create spaces in a local area to talk between those traditions?
Wisdom is not shutting things down, but being open to where God is at work. And so I think about, for example, as you've said there, Linda, that we want to, there's really good learning to be had within our cohorts. But if that's the only context we ever spend time in, then that becomes all of a sudden a problem. Likewise, if we spend all our time simply with other people and not learning from our own context, that'd be a problem as well. So it's the ability, isn't it, to sort of hold these tensions, I think, and not shut ourselves down too quickly and not shut the conversation down too quickly.